Welcome to Kimberly and Knit for Brains. And this week I wanted to bring you my work in progress. I haven't done this in a week or so, and it's because honestly, are you going to be bored? I mean, it's like, oh, she shows the same thing over and over again. So I wanted to wait until I had some changes, some differences. So the work in progress, this is my long-term work in progress. I've got a couple little shorties that I'm doing, but this is my long one, and this is the temperature cal using the linen stitch in the granny square, or in the square, and this is by Tony Lipsy. This pattern is turning out gorgeous. I am loving this. I have always wanted to, for the longest time, to do a temperature cal. I've seen them in everything. I've seen them in quilting and knitting and crochet and all different kinds of things. And it felt daunting, and they're really cool. But when I saw this particular pattern, it totally spoke to me because it incorporates one of my favorite stitches, which is the linen stitch. Simple stitch, but I think just gives the most beautiful texture, and it really highlights the colors that you're using. So if you're using like a variegated or a self-striping, or if you're changing colors, this is a beautiful stitch to go with because it really highlights the colors and the differences in the as they change. The other thing I like is I love granny squares. They're easy, they're simple, and they just are kind of a go. And I don't seem to lose stitches and count stitches when I'm doing these. So those two reasons made me think this is the perfect temperature cal for me. So I am actually caught up. I have done my January, and what I do is I just attach a little Post-it note here to the top of the square so I know which one is which. So this is my January, and let's see, this is my March. So this is my February. All right, and it goes like this. This is my March square. And I've just finished my April square. And it's going to go 3 squares across and then down 4. And the idea is that each square has 33 rows. So if, for instance, February had only 28 days, because each row represents 1 day. So February only having 28 days, then you would have to add on 5 rows of the white to equal the 33. And obviously if a month has 30 days, then you only do 3 rows, okay? I was so excited. I wanted to start to go ahead and assemble the Afghan, but when I was reading the instructions, it said to wait till you're completely done with the whole thing and then do the assembly. So I will be patient and I will do so. It also says you want to block the squares and just, make sure that they're all the same height. When you're done, then you attach them all. I think it's a mattress stitch. I'll have to get back when that time comes, all around. And then what's really cool about this is that you do the whole row, you attach the border, you do the whole thing in white, and then you do 1 row around of each one of the colors that you used in the temperature blanket throughout the year. So that's going to be really cool to kind of draw it all in together. And of course, I'm going to do them graduated as I did them throughout the year. So again, I am using the Wool Ease DK cakes. These are Lion brand. These are a weight of 3, which I really like because 3 just seems to be the perfect yarn weight for me when I'm doing an Afghan. 4s just tend to be a little bit too heavy. Okay, but if I'm doing like a baby Afghan and I wanted something like a little bit thicker, fuzzier, softer, that kind of stuff, maybe I'll use a 4. But for here, to do an Afghan and a 3 just seems to be the perfect weight. If I did a 4, I think it would be too heavy. So I'm really happy with these and the colors that I'm using. So these are colors I had in my stash. I got these on clearance from, I think, Michael's or maybe even Joann's. I paid $3.97 per skein, when usually these were like maybe $8 or $9, but I think I might even have gotten like another percentage off on these, which would be really exciting. They're 80% acrylic, 20% wool. Okay, so they just, and for an Afghan, I always like to use acrylic. You can wash it up. It's just really easy. And then the wool gives it that little bit of softness, but also a little bit of warmth and texture. And it doesn't feel like sometimes those stiff acrylics do. So I'm loving all of my choices here. The colors that I chose, so I'll go through this again. This is the bedazzled color. This to me, because my husband was looking at it, he goes, why are you choosing red for the warmer colors? You should be choosing them, or the colder colors. You should be choosing them for the warmer colors. Well, he doesn't quite understand. So I'm going to forgive him because he's cute and he's got this really great accent. So we're going to bypass on that one. Anyways, I chose this color to start with. This was the bedazzled. And these colors are a lot of the autumn colors, jeweled. So I'm thinking like September, October, November, those kind of colors. I used a few of these, but not that many because again, you start in January. So but I just thought these were really nice autumn colors. Okay, so from this, I went into this one, which is called Forever Young. So you can see, I think that's a nice transition between these two. This is I used a lot of this in January and February and March, so I'm using a lot of this now. Then I'm transitioning into Meadow, which to me spoke spring. The greens, the blues, life, Easter eggs, that bright kind of, these were spring colors. This is called Meadow. So I transition into this. And then lastly, in the summer, and then rolling into like the September months, I'm going to be using this one, which is called Strawberry Shortcake. And to me, the bright colors reminded me of like popsicles and summers and things like that. Now, I'm doing it a little bit differently, but again, with a temperature cal, you can do it any way you want. I've actually seen temperature cals done in like blacks, grays, whites, browns, totally not the traditional temperature cal, which is basically like all the colors of the rainbow. I have these in my stash. I wanted to use them. And when I purchased these, I didn't imagine that I would put them together, but I'm really liking how they're all coming together because it's the same product, same weight, so I knew they were going to transition well that way. But the colors, if you notice, like even here between the Meadow, you got the yellow transitioning into the yellow from the Meadow into the Strawberry Shortcake, which is really great. And from the Strawberry Shortcake, you're transitioning deeper here in the center into more of these jewel tones. So they just seem to kind of really blend well in together. What I love about this linen stitch is you can just really see, like I was saying, you can see how the color transitions. And the linen stitch, if you haven't seen it before or haven't tried it, by far one of the easiest stitches ever as a beginner. So easy, and it's a really nice stitch to showcase your work and go, wow, look at that, I made something really pretty. All it is a single crochet, chain one, and then where you chain, you skip the next stitch, right? So you do a single crochet, chain one, single crochet. The next row that you do, you single crochet into that space that you created with the chain one in the previous row, and then you just do a chain one over the stitch that you had. So you kind of do like this back and forth, and what you get is where you did the chain one, and then the single crochet, you see how the color drops down into the row below. So you really get to see more of the color than if you were to just do a single crochet all the way across. So for instance, like here, you can see how the colors graduated. We had some of the Forever Young, and then we had a warm spell, so we cut into some of the meadows here, and then we had some cold. And so, in this time of year here in Southern California, the weather is kind of all over the place, as evidenced by the colors that I'm choosing. What I think is also really interesting is if you look at the center square, that is where I'm seeing a lot of the difference. See those differences there? So this is really, you can see a lot of those winter colors, the Forever Youngs, the deeper purples and the reds. But then here, this is my March. You can see how spring is kind of starting to come through with those blues and greens. And I'm just really loving this. April is here. With April, we've got a little bit more of the green. We had a cold spell here. We definitely had a cold spell in here, and then we had some warmer months as well. There was a couple days where I think we went from like a 68 up to like a 90. We had, no kidding, there was some days where I think we had like a 20-degree change. Like, what do you do with that? I mean, who does that, right? It's crazy. Southern California weather, people go, oh, because we live in San Diego. Oh, San Diego is beautiful and the weather's always great. It's not always that great, I'm going to tell you. You know, we get the May showers. We get the June gloom. We get some July gloom. We get really hot in August and September. Then we start cooling down in October, and then it's cold, and it can be pretty rainy and miserable. Like, you know, December, definitely January, definitely February. I mean, today's a gorgeous day. We're in May, and it's pretty consistent. But, you know, we still have some nights that are dropping into the low 60s, maybe high 50s. Don't not come to San Diego by any stretch. I'm just saying that our weather gets a little bit kind of wonky, which makes a really interesting temperature cal. Bring you back to the point. So again, this is the temperature cal that I am doing. I found the pattern with Tony Lipsy. As always, I'll include it in a link below. It is the, it's not the Tunisian, it is the linen stitch square blanket from Tony Lipsy. The pattern is free. She has great tutorials as well. If you haven't checked out any of her patterns, I encourage you to do so. So you'll just have to keep seeing this as I go through. And at the end, I'm going to have this really beautiful kind of muted big square temperature cal that I am going to just love. And this one I'm keeping for myself. This is probably the first, well, okay, not the first, because I've got some over here that I've done, but one of the few Afghans I'm actually keeping for myself. I'm loving it. So once again, this is Kimberly with Knit for Brains or Crochet for Days. And this is my temperature cal, my work in progress. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back with my next work in progress, which is a little bit smaller, more manageable, but you know, one of my quickies. All right, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.